Hey guys, this is Kerry from HomesteadHow, and today I am going to show you how to use Google Sketchup to help design projects and buildings around your homestead. Enjoy! We found it to be very useful when building our chicken coop, when building our goat house. We're also using it right now to design a greenhouse, and we're going to bring you a series of videos using Google Sketchup showing how we design the greenhouse. One, I'm going to show you a couple tools and a couple of really cool tricks that can apply to your homestead or your home if you're going to build a fence or you're going to build a wall. So here we have a little barn, and we have a cow, and he's loose. So we got to build some fencing around here. And there's a couple things that you're going to use a lot when you're in Google Sketchup. So one of the big things you're going to use is this rectangle tool. And the other thing you want to pay attention to is this box in the lower right hand corner that says dimensions. You can type in dimensions and lengths of the material right in this spot. So let's say we're going to build a fence and we want it to be 6 feet high. Or no, let's say we're going to make it 5 feet high. We're going to have posts, and we're going to use, let's just say we'll use 4x4 pressure treated posts. So we're gonna dig some holes with our with our post hole digger, and we're gonna put posts in, and we're gonna want them. Let's say we want them 8 feet apart. I'm going to show you how to build this fence in Google Sketchup, and you can use these same ideas if you were going to build, say, an addition to your house, and you wanted to build a wall with studs in it, 16 inches on center. You don't have to draw each of those studs, and you don't have to draw each of those fence posts. There's ways to streamline that process with Google Sketchup, and I'll show you that here now. So right here we're going to draw our post. 4x4 post, again, it's not 4 inches by 4 inches, it's 3.5 inches, comma, 3.5 inches. Now we need to bury it in the ground, and we're going to bury it 3 feet. You use this push-pull tool. There's up and there's down. And now we can just type 3, single quote, enter. And now we have a post which is buried 3 feet into the ground. We're going to purchase an 8-foot post. So let's raise this post up 5 feet above. So we click the top of it, raise it up, and press 5, single quote, enter. Now we have our post. Now, let's say we want these posts 8 feet apart. We could sit here and draw each one of those like we just did, but that's kind of a waste. So here's sort of the tip of the day. This is a really cool feature of Google Sketchup, and it took me a while to figure out how to do it. You don't want to have to sit there and draw each of those out separately. So first thing we're going to do is highlight this entire post, and then we're going to right click and we're going to say make component, and we will call it fence post. This is going to allow us to duplicate the post quickly. So we just highlighted the whole thing, we right clicked it, and we said make component. So that's done. Now to copy this post, let's click on, what we want to do is grab this move tool up here. This allows you to move the post around. We don't want to move it, but this tool also allows you to clone and copy. So we're going to cursor over the post, and we're going to hold down the Alt key. Now this is the Alt key on a Mac. I think this may be the Control or Shift key on a PC. If you just Google it quickly, you should be able to see how to use the Google SketchUp Move tool as a clone tool. So on the Mac, I'm cursoring over, and it's important to get right in the center of this. Actually, I'm going to get right on this side of it. I'm going to click on the right face of it. I'll tell you why in a second. So I'm mousing over the right side of the 4x4. I'm holding down the Alt key, and now I'm going to press my left mouse button. And now we have a duplicate. Now how far over do we want to go? We want to have exactly 8 feet between the posts. We're just going to buy some 8-foot, let's say pressure treated 2x4s to go through as the fencing. So we want to go 8 feet from the right side of that post. So it's going to actually be 8 feet plus 3.5 inches. So 8 times 12 is 96, plus 3.5 is 99.5. So we're going to type in 99.5. You can see in the lower right corner that appears, and then we're going to hit enter. Now that 4x4 is exactly 8 feet between the two. Now the next trick is we want to do multiple 4x4s. So now if I press, if I go down in the box right here and I press an asterisk, which is Shift 8, that's the multiplication symbol or asterisk. And let's say we want to do, a huge fence. We want to do 12 posts. We'll put times 12 and hit enter. And now watch what happened here. I'm going to zoom around here so you can see. We now have all of those posts just by pushing that one button. We didn't have to draw each of these separately, and they're all 8 feet apart, and they're all buried 3 feet in the ground. Now we can do the same thing that way. So let's go back up here. We're going to zoom in and try to get to the top of the board, and we want to do the same thing. So we're going to select this post. We're going to hit the move tool, which is also the clone tool. We're going to click the far side. We're going to mouse over the far side. Holding down the Alt key on the Mac, left click, and then I move this over. And now I'm going to type 99.5, enter. And then I'm going to type asterisk 12. We'll do 12 posts that way. Now you can see we have the fence posting going all the way on both sides. Now we can do the same thing over here. Hit the Alt key, move that out, 99.5, enter, times 11, enter. If you do too many, you just have to delete some, but there we go. We got perfect all the way around. Now we want to put some rails between these fences. So again, these should be 8 feet apart. So if we grab this tape measure tool, measure from here to here, you got to be precise. You may have to zoom in, but we should have exactly 8 feet. There we go. Exactly 8 feet. You see in the lower right hand corner it says 8 feet. So now we want to put some rails in between these. So we're going to grab the rectangle tool, and here's the ground level, and we have 5 feet above. So let's say we want to do a rail 1 foot up. So we could just use this tape measure tool, and we can go from this point, and we can type in 12, enter for 12 inches. And now we have a little guide mark right here. So then we can grab the rectangle tool, we can start right there, and we can rough out a 2x4. And then we just start typing in the lower right. So we're going to type 3.5, comma 1.5. And there's your 2x4. There we go. So now I'm going to click this, right click, make component. We're going to call it bottom rail. Now we're going to duplicate it just like we did the posts. Let's say we want it 2 feet up on center. So I'll click the center of this, I'll mouse over the center of this, and press Alt on a Mac, left mouse click, and I'm going to drag this up, and I'm going to type 24, enter. Now we have this as a component, and we have it duplicated. Now we can use the push-pull tool. See how they both pull out now at the same time? So now we could measure this and make the 2x4 be 8 feet, which will be precise, and then we could duplicate it across each post. Or we can take a shortcut and just stretch it all the way across, just so we get the good visual and to speed up this video a little bit. And that's what we're going to do here. Then we have our front fence posts. Now let's say we wanted to do like a cap on the top. That might look kind of cool. So comma 3.5. There we go. Now we can raise this up 1.5 inches, 1.5, and then we can go over, and then we can stretch it out. We could zoom way out. And if you drag over to this end point right here, see how it turns purple? It'll put it precisely on the end. There we go. Now we have our fence. So now I'll go around and I'll do the rest of it real quick. Another thing we can do is we could go through here and we could measure these and we can count them. And if you have the pro version of SketchUp, there's a layout tool, which is this tool here, that'll actually give you, you press send to layout, and it'll give you counts where you can actually label these, and it'll tell you how many boards you need. Without the Pro version, which is kind of expensive, you could still count these manually, and you can still measure them in here. So if you go under Tools, Dimensions, we can then go in and get dimensions. So click on the endpoint, drag it down to this endpoint, and we see that's exactly 8 feet. And then we could say, okay, from here to here, also 8 feet. So we know we need a 4x4x8, and if you didn't know it was a 4x4, you could do the same thing. Click that dimensions, and you could zoom in here, endpoint to endpoint, and you see it's 3.5 by 3.5. Then you could go through and count and say, okay, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 12 4x4x8s, and in between each of those, I have 2x4x8s, and you could get your exact count of what you'll need to purchase from the store. You could also make estimates too, and okay, I'm going to use 2 screws on this side, 2 screws on this side, 2 on the top, and you can multiply that all out and figure out exactly how many you'll need. You can also calculate out the paint you need too. And another thing you can do is you can test things out to see, you know, I want to paint this a certain color. What's it going to look like if I paint it like a barn red color, for example? So I'm going to move this out of the way for a second just to streamline this. And we'll go to the top, and we'll click this little arrow tool, which allows us to select multiple things. And then if we press the paint tool, we can say, okay, let's say we want to leave it as a wood color. You click it, and now the whole thing is that wood color. Let's say we wanted to use some paint. There's different colors in here you can click. Here's colors. Let's say we want to do kind of a dark barn red color. Now we can see what it looks like that way. And if you're just building it too, you can also lay things out, like where you want to put this little building. You want to put it on this side. You want to put it over here. You can rotate it around off the top of it as well, if you want it on more of an angle. And if you start using this over time, you can actually build up your whole homestead property. So you don't have to go crazy, but you could put just a general rectangle in the general dimensions of your house, for example, and then maybe you have a chicken coop over here, and maybe you have a pole barn over here. You can rough those out, and then you can get a really good visual and plan things. So I hope that was helpful. It's just a basic tutorial on putting a fence together, but these same principles work. Like I said, if you're doing an addition on your house and you're building a 2x4 stud wall, you can lay all of that out using the same method where you create a component, you copy and move it, you hit the times button, and you can place your studs 16 inches on center. You could do 100 of them, 1,000 of them in a row, and see exactly what you need. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please post a comment below, and please be sure to subscribe, because we're finishing up a Google SketchUp video on a greenhouse build. So we're building a greenhouse, we're designing it in SketchUp. We're going to do a couple videos showing how to do rafters, how to do the walls, how to apply the material, the siding to the greenhouse, and doing the dimensions and cut lists. So be sure to subscribe and click the little notification icon so that you can get notified when we post new videos.
That's all I have to say about that.